let's just sew whatever.
So in this video, I'm going to show you how I cut and interface the Tribbiani Traveler. For the first couple minutes, I was quiet because I thought I was going to do voiceover, but I'm lazy, so I didn't. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. The interfacings that I'm using are going to be Woven Fuse 2 on my exterior fabric, which is just a thicker cotton canvas. And then I'm going to be using Decaville Light underneath that to give the bag a lot of shape. I'm using waterproof canvas to line it, and then I'm using vinyl for my accents. And then for the bottom of the bag, I'm using Decaville Heavy. So hopefully that kind of gives you guys some information, and let's get started. Yes. Oh my God. Okay, there's that. This is now my crossbody strap, and I can cut off the selvage of my fabric. And then I am going to be making side pockets. So what my plan is to cut this small side panel out of vinyl, but I'm going to fold it over 1 inch to create a little pocket. So let's hope it turns out the way I'm hoping it does. So let's see. I've got these little bits here I can kind of cut from. So right now I'm just kind of measuring it out, seeing what I think. Can't get both from there. So maybe I'll just kind of go from this side, use up this small chunk I've got going over here. Make sure you've got the fold line marked correctly. And then just to make sure that this is like closer to accurate, I'm just going to trace it. And I'm not going to add any interfacing to this because I'm already using a thicker canvas. If you're not using a thicker canvas, I would say go ahead and interface it a little bit, but I'm going to use waterproof canvas to line the pocket, so I definitely don't want it to be too thick. Okay. So there is my side pocket. Looks good. And then what I can do is kind of fussy cut, line this up because of the way the books are. They're not going to be in the exact same place, but whatever. And then I can just kind of rough cut this other one out. It's a pocket. It's going over a piece that will already be cut out precisely, so this does not have to be like 100% exactly the right size. Okay, and then I've got these little scraps I can just kind of toss. So I'm going to cut waterproof canvas out of this. Again, it's thick enough, and with the waterproof canvas, it'll be way too thick to sew through in those side seams, for thicker than it needs to be anyway. So that's it. Well, is it? I think that's it. I don't need a front pocket. I was gonna add a slip pocket in between the strap connectors, but I think with the side pockets, I really don't need that. Especially for the first time I'm making it, I don't want to vary it too much. I'll go ahead and fold up my fabric and we'll get started on cutting out the interfacing. So now I'll get started cutting out the woven fuse 2. And I like to call this anti-wrinkle pants for your fabric. I love it so much. I will say this one lately has been harder for me to press than regular woven fuse. It definitely takes a lot longer, which not a problem, but if you have an iron, it may be tricky. So I'm just kind of laying this out onto my interfacing. Cutting around. You could absolutely use your pattern piece to cut your interfacing if you wanted. I just like to kind of make it go a little bit quicker by rough cutting it out. So I have my heat press set to 149 degrees Celsius, and I'm going to press this for a little over 20 seconds twice. And it could be because my heat press doesn't have even pressure. Yeah, my heat press was kind of cheap on eBay, and you get what you pay for sometimes. So just laying that out. So there's one pressing, and then what I like to do is flip it over and press it from the other side. Most of it was fused, but there were a few sections that weren't, so just want to make sure it's thoroughly done. And the shiny side is the glue side of the woven fuse too, in case you were curious. All right, so I'm not going to take that off my heat press yet. I'm gonna let it kind of rest, let the glue sit and dry before I move it. Okay, and then I will woven fuse to my crossbody strap. I went ahead and cut the crossbody strap longer than the pattern suggested. It is 4 inches by the width of the fabric, so probably like 50 something. So there's our fabric with the woven fuse too. I like to kind of feel the fabric over, make sure that it feels consistently fused, and then I know we're all set. And then if you have really bad OCD, you can trim down your extra interfacing. However, I'm not super worried about it. Okay, so I got my first pressing done. Let it go a second time. All right. And I'll get that strap interfaced. I was like, where did I put it? Let that dry on your heat press. And I'm just gonna go ahead and use the selvage edge of the interfacing. I don't like to use it on main fabric pieces, but with a crossbody strap, it's gonna be folded in, so no big deal. If you think that the woven fuse 2 is a little bit too thick for you, you don't have to use it on the crossbody strap, but I just, oh, I love the way it feels. It feels so nice. So hopefully you guys can see, I'm just unfolding, lining it up with the edge that's probably mostly straight, and dragging my scissors across it. Again, this is a crossbody strap. It's going to be folded over. So if it's not consistently interfaced, like every single inch, you're not going to be able to tell. So I'm going to lay this flat and then slowly press it on my heat press and just kind of shift the fabric as I go. Kind of move the fabric over, I should say. So I'm laying it all flat, pressing it on the heat press. So that's everything that's gonna need woven fuse 2. Again, I'm not doing the side panels, I'm not doing a front pocket, anything like that. So I'm just gonna fold this back up. Such a great job, good. Go me. And set this back on my shelf. And I'm just slowly moving the strap down till we get to the next side. Okay. So now my main panels are interfaced with the woven fuse 2, but I want to add the Decaville heavy, or the Decaville light. So what we're going to actually do is fold our pattern piece at 1/2 inch to reduce the bulk in our seam allowance. Okay. So now my crossbody strap is all finished. Okay. So you could actually go ahead and print out a second pattern piece for this, especially if it's something you're going to make a lot. But I'm just going to go ahead and trace a fold line. Yeah. Now obviously we don't want to make the fold, the center fold, smaller. That would be not a good idea. But everywhere else, especially at the bottom, we want to make it out of our seam allowances. So I'm just going to fold this. And honestly, next time I make this pattern, I'll probably print it out of cardstock unless I get the templates. And then I'll just be able to use this piece here as my Decaville Light sheet. Now, if you are not using waterproof canvas for your lining, you do not need the Decaville Light. You can just follow the instructions for how she interfaces this bag, and she also includes videos with her patterns. But because I'm using waterproof canvas, I cannot fuse it with fleece. It won't turn out. So that's why I'm using Decaville Light, because it's going to give the bag a lot of body without adding thickness that foam would. And I wouldn't recommend putting fleece on the exterior of this bag because it's just going to be kind of floppy. Fleece doesn't give a lot of stand up without a stabilizer underneath it. So that's my little tip for the day. Okay, so since Decaville Light is so expensive, I want to make sure that I'm as precise as possible when I'm cutting this out. So I'm going to clip it to a straight edge. I'm not going to cut this on the fold. I'm going to just trace it as I go. And then we're just going to center it when we fuse it. Center it to the exterior fabric. And I'm just using a fine point Sharpie to trace this out. Honestly, I accidentally bought them at Walmart. I thought they were the thicker ones. I wanted them to write numbers on orders. Well, that didn't work out. Okay. So there's that, and we also have like our center mark. It's not very straight, but I can take a ruler and straighten it out. So I'm unfolding that piece because I'm just going to trace this one now. But I wanted to make sure that was straight, and then I'm going to straighten this one too. Just a little bit. Okay, so. And then with this kind of Decaville Light scrap, you can interface magnetic snaps. So this one here, this is great for interfacing snaps. So I just put that in a little save pile. Okay, so now I have this piece. I can kind of lay, so lay it that way. Yeah, just lay it like that and trim. Cut out the rest. And again, I've got this scrap piece here, but we can use that to stabilize snaps. Okay. And then I just like to clip around so nothing shifts. I'm trying to make sure my head's out of the way. I don't know if I'm doing a good job or not. I can't see. Now, if you make this bag, honestly, I haven't made this bag, so I don't know. But if I decided that the Decaville Light with the Woven Fuse 2 wasn't quite enough to keep the shape that I wanted, I would use the folded pattern piece that I created to make a foam pattern template, basically. So I'd cut Decaville Light and foam and see how that worked, because yeah. Okay. So that's all I need for Decaville Light. Okay, so now the Decaville Light would get centered on the back like that. And then this is where you need to mark for seam allowances, and I've already got it started. So yay me. So I'm gonna press that for about 10 seconds and then let it cool, and we'll do the other one really quick. Okie doke. Again, just let it cool, laying nice and flat. So I'm getting a bin started where I can put all of my little pieces. Let those cool while laying flat. And we'll go ahead and start cutting out vinyl while my heat press is still on so that I can fuse the Decaville Heavy. So I'm using this super fun lime green vinyl. I got this from FM Stores in Springfield, Missouri. We might need that, so I'll set it in the bin. So the bottom panel here I'm gonna clip it along the sides and the bottom and trace along the outer edge. Again, this is so much easier with templates or with cardstock pattern pieces. Normally I'll print my patterns out on cardstock before I buy templates, but I just wasn't even thinking today. And then for the center line, you don't want to see it when you lay your pattern piece down again. Okay. Now I'll cut that out. And we'll cut out our heavy, and then we'll finish cutting out the vinyl and the lining. And this is a somewhat thick marine vinyl. And you don't want to cut next to that black line that you've traced, you want to cut on it. You almost don't want to see it when you're done. So that way your pattern piece is the size intended by the pattern. So I know a lot of people, and myself included, have had issues where like your bottom piece doesn't fit just right, this and that is one thing that will help prevent those issues. Okay, so this is my small bottom stabilizer. It says to cut 2, but I do not want that, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah. not with everything all together. I think it'll be just fine. Decaville Heavy can get really thick really fast. So if you wanted the bottom of your bag to be a bit stiffer, I would recommend cutting one piece out of Decaville Light and then one piece out of Decaville Heavy. There we go. And then that's all that I need to do with the bottom small panel. And again, cut this on that black line. Don't cut next to it. You want it to be as close to intended size as possible. Especially when you're attaching the bottom of the bag to the exterior. You don't want that stabilizer to be off in any way. So that's all I need the Decaville Heavy for. What I'm gonna do really quick is just fuse it. I'm lining it up first, making sure that it's nicely centered, and then I'm taking it over to the heat press. That's good. And then just press it for about 10 seconds. And let that cool. Oh, I need to press it again. It didn't completely fuse. Again, my heat press has uneven pressure. Let that go. Okay. So I'm grabbing my 24-inch by 6-inch ruler to cut the rest of the exterior of the bag out of the vinyl. So the pattern calls for webbing, and I don't have webbing and I don't want to use webbing, so I'm going to go ahead and use vinyl for everything. So I've redone the handle connectors, handles, side connectors, shoulder strap. Basically you want to cut it twice what the finished size would be, except for the handles. That needs to be double. So 8 by 2 inches for the handle connectors, 6 by 2 inches for the side connectors, and 18 by 4 inches for the handles. Whew. Why am I so out of breath? So 8 by 2. This right here is going to give me 3. So I'm cutting 8 by 6. And then cutting those down to 8 by 2. So now I have 3 of those. And I need 1 more. And, nope. So I'll go ahead and cut 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to cut my 2 side connectors because those need to be 6 inches, which is the width of that piece. So these are side, side. And then I need 1 more 8 by 2. There we go. So what I'm gonna do is add a piece of packing tape over this additional cut list so that I can take an expo marker and just cross out what I've already cut versus what I need. That always helps me like keep focus. Okay. So let's see. So I'm going to do 18 by 4 inch. Well, that would have been bad, huh? So 18. Right now I'm tracing 18 by 6. And then I'm going to move this over. And then I'm going to move it over again so that there's 2 inches more than the ruler. So now you can see here I've got 1 strap and 2 straps, and the center lines are already marked out. So let's think of a better way to describe that. So here's my 6 inches. I've traced it, and then I move the ruler over 2 inches and trace along the outside and the inside, and then trace out the center line, which is 4 inches. And there will be my handles. Okay. And now I need to trace out my small side panel. I did not do that before. Again, I'm using this fabric as a little pocket. Small bottom panel. This goes in my lining pile. Okay, so I'll just use the straight edge for my handles as the top as I trace this out. And if you want your pieces to not have to be cut on fold, just cut or print your pattern pieces out twice and tape them together, and then voila, you've got the same one twice. Okay. Again, I want to make sure my bottom is nice and straight, so I'm just going to trace a straighter line than what I already had. Perfect. And if you want, you could also do that for your center. You could lay your ruler over the pattern piece, trace it out that way. And you want to make sure whatever marking pencil you use won't be able to be seen through to the other side if you are tracing out that full center line. To lining, to exterior. Okay, so this now goes in my lining pile. Trace this out. And I thought about adding Decaville Light to this side panel. However, with the side pocket, I don't think we're going to need it. I think it'll have enough shape on its own. And a lot of people ask me, like, how do you know what interfacings to use? And honestly, it's all personal preference and knowledge that you've learned from just jumping in and making bags. But a lot of times what you can do if you have the interfacings on hand is you could kind of stack them together in your hand and see how it feels. Like, is this too thick? Is this too thin? Is it going to stand up on its own? You can't always predict that, but you can kind of hypothesize what it might be like. You could absolutely use a rotary cutter to cut out your handles. I'm just lazy, I guess. I don't know. I like scissors. I like turtles. Okay. And now this you could save for a little scrap or make a cute little tassel. I'll go ahead and do that really quick. I'm not super fancy with my tassels. I just cut thin, thick, whatever. They're just for fun. So I'll throw that in there. These are my side panels. And here are my handles. If you want handles that are more for shoulder, you're definitely gonna want to cut them to like 24 inches probably. That's fairly standard, but these are going to be just little grab handles, which I think are adorable. Okay, what else do I need out of vinyl? I think that's it. Oh my goodness. Oh, that would be so cool. Ugh. I'm gonna do it, whatever. Okay, so what I'm thinking is it would be really neat to have like a little vinyl overlay next to the zipper. So I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. So let's see. 2 inches seems like too much. So I'm gonna go with 1.5 inches of just a straight piece that is 16 inches. 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna cut this to 3 inches. I'll just cut it a little longer. It's not gonna hurt anybody. I'll just trim off the excess. I just love a zipper overlay, you guys. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. And then you're gonna wanna make sure that the edge that's gonna be exposed is nice and straight. So that's why I'm definitely using a rotary cutter for this. Make sure I'm holding it nice and straight. Go slow. So this will be the first thing I attach here. Oh yeah. Oh, that's gonna be cool. Oh, what if it looked like slime? No, don't do this to me, Lauren. Oh, crap. That would be incredible. I'm not gonna do it. Oh, but I want to. I'm just imagining like drip. I'm not gonna be able to have the patience to sew it. So, whatever. I might regret that decision later. It's fine. So I'm just clipping that in place. That'll be one of the first things we attach, like I said. And I'm lining up the straightest edge to the outside. Make sure it's nice and flush. If you have a domestic machine, adding this vinyl overlay might be a bit much, so be careful. Make sure you know the limits of your machine before you get started. So there's my bottom and my exteriors and those pockets. I think we're ready for lining. For the lining, I'm using this teal green waterproof canvas. It's gonna look pretty cool. Okay. I'm gonna grab my side panels and my bottom. Again, I'm super lazy when it comes to cutting out the lining. So what I like to do is get my nice sturdy exterior piece and just trace my scissors along the edge to cut it out. So I like to make sure I use plenty of clips to help hold everything in place. Okay. So, exteriors. Boom. These are my side pockets. And I'm going to do something kind of fun with these too. I was thinking, which way's up? Okay. This way's up. Let's go ahead and put a little arrow, just in case. So I was thinking it might be kind of cool. This will be sitting here. Of course, the seam allowance will make it lower by about 1/2 inch. But I was thinking if I cut this about 1/2 inch wider, I can create almost like a faux piping of the waterproof canvas. So when it's sitting on the side, you can see just a little hint of it. So wish me luck. And I'm very much so rough cutting this side pocket because I don't need it to be the exact size. I'm just going to clip along the top edge where I'm going to sew, and then once I base stitch it all together, that's when I can trim down my excess. This is just my own personal preference. It's my own time saver. I think it works just fine. So I'm cutting that pocket bigger than I need it to be in the lining, but that's so I have plenty of room to make it the exact size I need without wasting a lot of time mathing it out. I can just kind of eyeball it. Okay, so now these pieces, of course, we're going to cut exactly to size. I'll just line it up here. And you really want to make sure that you aren't using a lot of pressure. Otherwise, you could cut through your exterior piece as well, and you really don't want to do that. So that's why I kind of just glide my scissors along the edge. And I'm keeping these all clipped together, so when I sit down to sew and I get to these side panels, and I've already marked which way is up on the exterior, I can quickly do that to the lining as well and have very little confusion about which way is up. But you can, of course, do that now while you're here as well. Make sure you're doing it on the exterior, or the wrong side, I should say. Yeah, it's wider at the top. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so the last couple pieces I need to cut out are my main pieces as well as my zipper pocket, and I think I'm going to go ahead and add 2 zipper pockets. A lot of my customers always request more pockets than are included. So what's nice is pattern designers really leave that open to you. Like, hey, whatever you need, you can do that. So I'm actually going to unclip one of these, but I'm going to keep my clips on the side that I already decided was my straight edge. Hey, look at that. Should have cut that earlier. The shape of this reminds me of like an old phone. Like, without, I don't know. Am I crazy? Do you guys see it too? Or am I crazy? now I'm going to use my lining piece to cut out my other lining piece, and I can clip this back into place. And then while I'm here, I also may as well mark out that seam allowance line. All I'm going to do is refold it and lay this down. There we have it. Bada boom. Flip it over, do it again. Oh, and then I gotta cut out my zipper pocket, which is 10 by 7. Perfect. You know what? I'm just gonna do what I know. I'm gonna do 2 7-inch zippered pockets. Again, this is just the template I use for all my pockets. I just think it's super easy. You have your template piece. You can zip, zap, zool through them. So there's one. And little bits cut out doesn't really matter, because I'm going to use a different seam, like it's not going to be within my seam allowance, so it's not going to affect the overall bag in the end if your zipper pockets aren't exactly the same size. Unless, of course, again, you have that OCD. I am very fortunate I don't suffer from that. But anyway, so there's my 2 zippered pockets, and that's it. We have all of our pieces cut out for the exterior, the lining. Everything is fully interfaced, and we're ready to sew. After I pick out hardware. Adding a little PS. I said I wouldn't do it, and then I did. So what I went ahead and did was cut out a larger piece. I marked out my 1.5, and then I used a silver, almost dying Sharpie to trace it out. Don't. It looks a little weird. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out with my scissors, and then I'll show you what it'll look like. We'll see if we like it. Was it worth it? I think so. This kind of looks like a foot, but whatever. So truthfully, I probably will end up having to just kind of cut that off. Otherwise, I think it looks really good. I'm really happy I did it.